All right, picture this. You've got this amazing new 4K TV, maybe a projector, right? And you want to put it, I don't know, across the room, maybe hide the gear in a closet or even upstairs. So you run what seems like a perfectly good HDMI cable, plug it all in, hit the power button, and nothing. Zip. Or maybe worse, you get this flickering, blocky mess. Suddenly your fancy new screen looks like, well, something ancient. Central Air is a standard HDMI cable, so great for short runs, yeah. But they really hit a wall when you try pushing high-res stuff like 4K beyond just a few feet. The signal just kind of gives up. So the big question is, how do you get that super sharp, crystal clear 4K video way across a room, or maybe through a whole building without losing quality and without, tripping over a snake pit of expensive, heavy, and honestly often unreliable cables? Well, that exact frustration is what we're diving into today. And we found a really neat piece of tech to look at. The WolfPack 4K 30Hz HDMI extender. This one's got PC and a loop-out feature too. So our mission today, we're going to unpack this gadget, figure out how it works its magic, what makes it different, and why it's way more than just like a fancy cable replacement. We'll dig into its smart features, the tech behind it, and where it really shines in practice. Think of this as your guide to making those long-distance 4K dreams a flicker-free reality. Okay, let's get into it. This whole issue of HDMI signals just fading over distance is a super common headache, right? Especially in the AV world. Once you go past 1080p, and definitely when you're pushing gorgeous 4K, a standard HDMI cable, it just becomes the weak link pretty fast. You go past, what, maybe 25, 50 feet? Depends on the cable and the signal, of course. But you start seeing those dreaded dropouts, weird artifacts. Maybe the screen just goes black. Why? Why does a normal cable struggle so much?
That's the core issue. And it really boils down to bandwidth. It's fascinating, actually. A 4K signal, say at 30 frames per second, 30 hertz, with full YUV 4.4.4 color. I mean, that pushes a lot of data. We're talking 10.2 gigabits per second. That's like a fire hose of digital information.
Wow, 10.2 gigabits, okay.
Exactly. And trying to keep that signal perfectly intact, every single bit of that high-res, full-color data arriving exactly as it should over a long stretch of traditional HDMI cable. It's just incredibly tough. HDMI wasn't really designed for those kinds of distances at such high data rates, so it's prone to signal loss, interference, all sorts of errors. Lose even a tiny bit of that data, and boom, flickering, pixels out of place, or just nothing.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's where this WolfPack extender comes in with, I think, a really smart approach. Instead of trying to force that HDMI signal down a path, it wasn't meant for, relying on a long, often pricey, thick HDMI cable. It does something different. It actually transforms the signal, changes it so it can travel over a completely different type of cable, a single network cable, like the ones you use for your internet.
Precisely. A standard CAT6 or CAT6A, even CE7 cable.
And that's huge because those cables are everywhere, they're robust, and they handle distance way better. So the big win here is you can send that 4K 30 hertz signal up to 120 feet just using a regular CAT6 cable. It's a two-part system, right? A transmitter, the TX, plugs into your source, like your Blu-ray player or computer, and then a receiver, the RX, which connects to your TV or projector at the far end. They work as a pair.
It's exactly right. So the TX unit grabs that HDMI signal, converts it into a sort of digital packet format, something that's much more resistant to noise and distance issues. Then it sends those packets down that single network cable. At the other end, the RX unit catches them, converts everything back into a perfect HDMI signal, and feeds it straight to your display. The whole process is engineered for stability, which is absolutely vital for 4K.
Rock solid stability. I like the sound of that.
And to make things even smoother, it has built-in EDID management. We can talk more about EDID later, but essentially it helps the source and display talk to each other properly, avoiding those common compatibility problems. The reason ThinCable works so well here is its design, the twisted pairs, the differential signaling. It's just naturally much better at rejecting noise and interference over distance compared to HDMI.
Gotcha. So we've fixed the main distance problem using CAT cable. That's already a big improvement. But you mentioned this WolfPack unit has some extra tricks up its sleeve. This is where it gets really interesting, beyond just, sending the signal far away. Let's talk about power over cable, or PPO. That sounds handy.
It's a fantastic feature for neatness.
So normally, you'd have the transmitter, the receiver, maybe 120 feet apart. That usually means two power bricks, right? One at the source, one near the screen.
Yep, more cables, more clutter.
Exactly. And you always need to find a power outlet near the display, which isn't always easy, especially if it's mounted high up. But with PPOs, that whole problem just disappears. You only need one power adapter for the whole system.
Just one.
You plug that single adapter into the transmitter unit, the TX, at the source end. And here's the clever bit. The receiver, the RX, all the way at the other end, it gets its power directly from the TX unit through the same network cable that's carrying the video signal.
It's incredibly neat.
Super efficient, really simplifies the installation.
It absolutely does. I mean, think about it. POC solves one of the biggest installation headaches. You've just mounted a beautiful 4K screen high on a conference room wall, right? Or maybe it's a digital sign in a shop. The absolute last thing you want is another ugly power cord dangling down. Or worse, having to call an electrician just to add an outlet right there.
Oh yeah, that gets expensive fast.
POC just eliminates that need. It makes the whole setup cleaner, much more flexible. Especially useful in places where outlets are just hard to come by or you really want that clean, professional look. It's more than just convenience. It's actually a strategic plus for installers.
Definitely. And speaking of flexibility, there's another feature on this unit, the HDMI loop out. It's right there on the transmitter box.
That's right, on the TX unit.
Okay, so it's an HDMI output port right at the source end. Why would I want that if my main goal is sending the signal away to the far display?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, that loop out offers some really valuable flexibility, especially in, say, professional setups or even complex home theaters. It has a couple of main uses. First, local monitoring. Imagine you're running a presentation from a control booth. You're sending 4K video out to a big projector, maybe 100 feet away.
Okay.
You absolutely need to see exactly what's being shown out there, right? In real time, no delay. The loop out lets you connect a small monitor right there at your station. So you can check the signal, check the content. It's crucial.
Right, like a confidence monitor.
Precisely. And second, it lets you connect another display near the source. Maybe it's just a small reference monitor or even a second TV in the same room as your equipment rack. It effectively splits the signal reliably, one local, one remote.
Okay, that does sound really useful for more complex setups. But what if, say, 120 feet still isn't quite enough? Maybe you need to go even further, like across a really big space, or maybe send the signal to a couple of different remote spots.
Good question. And that leads us nicely into another capability, cascading.
Cascading sounds interesting.
Yeah, so this particular WolfPack model lets you cascade up to 2 layers. And you do it using that HDMI loop out port we just talked about. What that means is you can take the HDMI loop out from your first transmitter and connect it to the HDMI input of a second WolfPack transmitter.
Ah, I see. So you're chaining them together.
Exactly. Each hop adds another potential 120 feet. So this effectively lets you extend the signal much further than the initial limit. Or you could use it to create more complex distribution paths. Maybe send the signal out to multiple remote screens simultaneously. Think of like a big university lecture hall.
Right.
The main source needs to feed the big screen at the front, sure. But maybe also a couple of smaller monitors down the sides and perhaps another screen in an overflow room down the hall. Cascading gives you that kind of multi-point distribution without needing a big, complex, and often expensive distribution amplifier. It's quite powerful, but still relatively simple to set up.
Wow, okay. Extension plus distribution. Very cool. And just quickly, to wrap up the control side of things, because seeing the video remotely is great, but controlling it remotely is even better. It also handles one-way IR signals.
It does. One-way IR transmission.
So that means I can use my regular remote control, maybe from my couch where the TV is, to control the source device, like my cable box or Blu-ray player, even if it's tucked away in a closet somewhere else.
That's exactly it. Point the remote at the IR receiver near your display, and the signal gets sent back over the network cable to the source device. It's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference for convenience. No more getting up to change the channel.
Definitely a plus. Okay, let's peel back another layer then. Let's talk about the tech specs, the standards that make all this work reliably and ensure it, plays nice with other gear. We keep saying 4K at 30 hertz YUV 4.4.4. Can you break that down? For someone who just wants a great picture, what does that actually mean visually?
Yeah, absolutely. Those numbers and letters directly impact what you sense screen. So 4K, 30 hertz, 4K is the resolution, 3840 by 2160 pixels. That's 4 times the detail of full HD 1080p. Super sharp
More
picture.
crispness, got it.
The 30 hertz is the refresh rate, 30 frames a second. Now, 60 hertz is smoother for really fast action like high-end gaming, but 30 hertz is perfectly fine and looks stunningly crisp for almost all video content, movies, presentations, static images, no visible artifacts.
Makes sense. And the YUV 4.4.4 part, that sounds important for color.
Very important. YUV 4.4.4 signifies full color fidelity. Basically, it means zero compression of the color information, none. Every single pixel gets its complete, uncompromised color data. So you get incredibly accurate, vibrant, true-to-life colors. No weird color banding or fringing, none of that subtle dullness you might see with lower color sampling like 4.2.0, which is common in streaming.
Oh, okay.
For things like graphic design, video editing, high-end digital signs where color accuracy is critical, 4.4.4 is pretty much essential.
That's a great explanation. Really clarifies why those specs matter. And to make sure this high-quality signal actually works with everything, the extender needs to follow industry standards, right? It can't just be its own thing.
Absolutely crucial. And this one is compliant with some key protocols, HDMI 1.4, HTCP 1.4, and even DVI 1.0.
Okay, why are those important for me, the user?
Well, HDMI 1.4 compatibility ensures it works with, most modern and even slightly older HDMI devices you probably already have. It covers the basic video and audio capabilities. HDCP 1.4, that's high bandwidth digital content protection, is vital. Without HDCP compliance, you'd likely just get a black screen trying to watch protected content from Blu-rays, Netflix, cable boxes, whatever.
The dreaded black screen of copy protection.
Yeah. Exactly. HDCP 1.4 ensures you can actually watch the stuff you've paid for. And DVI 1.0 compatibility is a nice bonus. It means it might work with some older monitors or projectors that only have DVI inputs. Adds versatility. All these standards work together to handle that hefty 10.2 Gbps bandwidth reliably, making sure your source and display can actually communicate properly. Gives you peace of mind.
Peace of mind is good. Now, you mentioned EDID earlier. Built-in EDID improves compatibility. Sounds techy. What is EDID, and why is having it managed inside the extender a good thing for the person setting it up? What does it mean for you?
Right, EDID, Extended Display Identification Data. It sounds complicated, but the concept is simple. It's basically like a silent, automatic conversation that happens whenever you connect your display to your source.
A conversation.
Yeah. The display tells the source, hey, here's what I can do. These are the resolutions I support. These are my refresh rates. Here are the audio formats I understand. It's like a capabilities list.
Okay, like introducing itself.
Exactly like an introduction. Now, if that conversation gets messed up, maybe because of a long cable run corrupting the data, the source might send the wrong signal. You could get an incorrect resolution, weird colors, or just a blank screen. Nothing works.
Been there. Very frustrating.
Oh, yeah. So the beauty of the built-in ED management in this WolfPack extender is that it handles that conversation intelligently. It captures the display's info, manages it, and makes sure the source gets the right message nice and clear. It ensures that smooth, trouble-free handshake between your devices, prevents those common annoying compatibility issues, guarantees the source sends the best possible signal for that specific display every time. It's like having a built-in universal translator ensuring everything just works.
That's a brilliant analogy. A universal translator for video signals. Love it. Okay, so we've got all these great features, solid tech specs. Who really benefits most from this? Let's connect it to some real-world situations.
Well, it's really designed for AV transmission in more demanding spots.
Like where specifically?
Think HD conference systems. You've got a big boardroom. Maybe the computer running the presentation is in a rack somewhere, but the main screen is 60 feet away on the wall. This ensures that image is perfect every single meeting.
Okay, boardroom's got it.
Also ideal for HD video shooting. On a film set, maybe the director needs a monitor far away from the actual camera rig to see the shot in real time. No lag.
Makes sense.
Big university lecture halls, HD multimedia education systems. You might need to feed a high-res image to multiple screens spread throughout a large room.
Right, like we talked about with cascading.
Exactly. And definitely HD digital advertising and signage. Picture those vibrant digital menu boards in a restaurant, right? The computer running them might be way in the back office. Or maybe interactive displays in a shopping mall with the control system hidden away somewhere else.
Yeah, you see those everywhere now.
In all those cases, you need reliable, high-quality video over potentially long distances. That's where something like this WolfPack extender becomes essential. It makes those installations possible where regular HDMI just wouldn't cut it.
Okay, great examples. Now, for anyone thinking of installing one of these, the documentation has some pretty clear warnings. It specifically says, Don't use easy 45 connectors, and don't use patch panels when you're terminating the CT6 cable. Now, I admit, in my younger DIY days, I might have been tempted to use those easy connectors because they seem easier. Why are these warnings so important? Why be such a stickler here?
Oh, they're not just being overly cautious. Those warnings are absolutely critical if you want this thing to perform properly, especially pushing that high bandwidth 4K signal. Easy 45 connectors, yeah, they seem convenient for basic networking maybe, but for a 10.2 Gbps video signal, they often lead to problems, signal degradation, poor contact quality, impedance mismatches. They just weren't designed for this kind of precision.
Okay, so convenience kills quality here.
Pretty much. It's like you wouldn't try to run a high-performance race car on cheap economy tires,
Yeah.
right? Same idea. And patch panels, again, great for organizing network cables in an office closet, but they introduce extra connection points. Each connection point can mean a tiny bit of signal loss, maybe an impedance bump, potentially some crosstalk. For regular internet data, maybe you don't notice. But for uncompressed 4K video over 100 feet, those tiny imperfections add up.
And lead to.
Flickering, color problems, maybe the signal drops out intermittently, or you just get no picture at all. Then you're stuck troubleshooting, maybe having to redo all your cable ends. It's just not worth the potential headache. Following those installation tips is really key to getting that stable, pristine, 120-foot 4K image you paid for. Saves a lot of frustration later.
Good advice. Pay attention to the details on installation. Definitely noted. So we're talking about a pretty robust, reliable piece of kit here. It's probably worth mentioning the company behind it, HDTV Supply.
Yeah, knowing the source matters.
Well, HDTV Supply, they've actually been around for a while. 24 years, apparently. Established way back in March 2003. They position themselves as a global home for audio and video products. And they've got good ratings, like exceptional top quality store rated by Google Shopping, which usually means customers are happy. They also mention great support and fast delivery, which is always nice when you're buying tech gear.
And that really brings up an important point about trust, doesn't it? Especially with complex tech like this. There are tons of gadgets out there. Knowing the company has a solid track record is reassuring. The fact that WolfPack is their own registered trademark and the HDTV Supply is an HD-based T.org approved adopter, that tells you something.
What does that signal?
It signals they're not just, slapping their name on generic boxes. They're invested in the technology and industry standards and quality control.
Okay.
They understand HD-based calays, which is a core technology often used in these types of extenders.
Right.
Plus, you mentioned this product is TAA compliant.
Right.
For listeners who don't know, TAA compliance relates to the Trade Agreements Act. It basically means the product is suitable for purchase by U.S. government agencies. That usually implies stricter standards for manufacturing, sourcing, and security. It's another layer of confidence in the product's quality and reliability. It suggests solid engineering.
Good context. So, a reliable product from a reputable source. Okay, I think that wraps up our deep dive pretty nicely. What we've seen today with the WolfPack 4K 30Hz HDMI extender, the one with POC and loop out, is that it's a really well thought out solution. It tackles that core problem of HDMI's distance limits for 4K video head on. It does it elegantly using a single network cable. It makes installation way easier with that power over cable feature. And it adds genuine flexibility with the HDMI loop out and the potential for cascading, all while making sure it works smoothly with your existing gear, thanks to sticking to standards like HDMI 1.4, HDCP 1.4, and having that smart EDID management built right in. It's not just stretching a signal, it's delivering it reliably and intelligently. A really solid tool for modern AV needs.
Absolutely. And, this whole discussion, it kind of raises a broader question, doesn't it? As our appetite for higher resolution content just keeps growing everywhere, from our living rooms to conference rooms, digital signs, classrooms, how do you see these kinds of intelligent, adaptable extension solutions, like this WolfPack unit, shaping the future? How will they change the way we consume and share visual information in these bigger, more dynamic spaces we live and work in? Definitely some food for thought there about designing our spaces for the future, balancing quality and simplicity.
That is a great question to leave our listeners with. How will these technologies shape our visual future? Something to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into long-distance 4K extension. We really hope this gives you the confidence and the know-how to tackle your own high-resolution video challenges. Until next time.